Hello everybody, happy Science Saturday. Saturday, not Sunday. Whoa, I'm early, kind of. How's it going? It's kind of cloudy here, as you can see, which is kind of nice, so it's not too hot. But we love the sun. Well, we should love the sun. I actually like it when it's cloudy and cold and miserable, because then it's like not hot. But anyway, hey, it's a science day. We're going to get back into science. Kingdom Protista. How many kingdoms are there? What, like 5 or something? Basically, none of them matter except for Kingdom Minera, where the majority of all the life forms are. Protista is just kind of there. I don't really know, actually, all the other ones apparently, even though that's what we can actually see and what matters in our life. Kingdom Animalia, Kingdom Plantae, and then the fungus one. Those are the ones that we can actually see. Protista and Minera, you can't even see, but they matter more, supposedly, because there's way more of them. So apparently they're better than us, especially Kingdom Minera. But Kingdom Protista, I don't really get the point of it. It's just kind of there. But you know what's funny? So what's the difference? There's the eukaryotic cells, which are basically more complicated cells, and the prokaryotic cells, which is what Kingdom Minera has, because they're simple. They're just simple little blobs. And they're way more important than us, apparently. But Protista has all the rest of the kingdoms have the complicated eukaryotic cells. Probably pronouncing it wrong, but whatever. But Protista is still microorganisms that we can't see. So again, what's the point? Well, they live in ponds. Okay, there's 2 different, you know how there's phylums and classes and genuses, which is already way too confusing, and I don't know why we have to have all of that. And now they had to divide Kingdom Protista into 2 things, and they're like, here's the 2 things. What was it called? Protozoa and algae. And you're like, okay, so that's the phylums, right? The next set of divisions. No, that's not even the phylums. They just decided to divide them up again. We had all these different divisions, and then they just added another division. Sub-kingdoms. Why? How many divisions do we need in this world? But whatever. Subkingdom Protozoa and Subkingdom Algae. The difference is kind of that Protozoa can move on its own. It has its own way of locomotion. And Algae can't. It pretty much just is... Or algae, is that what you call it? Whatever. Floats on the water. And that's how it moves, because it's just on water all the time. But also, the difference is that Protozoa typically is heterotrophs, which means that it feeds off of living things, and algae is the other one, autotroph, where it basically comes up with its own food and is self-reliant and not relying on other things to stay alive, which we all strive to be more like algae. But you know what's funny is those are the differences, and yet there's sometimes where something will have both locomotion and is autotroph, so you don't know which category to put it in, or it'll be the opposite. Or there's exceptions. Come on, what's the point of divisions if you're just going to have a million different exceptions to it? Whatever. Okay, so within these 2 subkingdoms, there's phylums, which aren't really important. You don't really need to know all the names, but whatever. Protozoa has phylum Metasophora, Sarcodiana, Sillophora, and Sporozoa. And then algae has phylum Chlorophyta, Pyrophyta, and Phaeophyta, and Rhodophyta. Not very helpful information to know that. But anyway, I'm complaining too much. It does get interesting. You know, when you study each phylum, and I'm never going to memorize. Who even memorizes these? Who even comes up with these? Like, who even takes the time to look at each individual organism, find out what's unique about it and what's similar to all the other ones of the bajillion different organisms? Who's able to do all that? And then actually come up with a name and divide it up. Someone did it, and then some people actually memorize all of it. I'm not going to memorize all of it. But let's start with Protozoa, the subkingdom, in phylum Sarcodiana, which sounds like sardines. These are basically just blobs. I'm just talking about this because it's interesting. I'm not actually going to memorize them, but these are just blobs with a thick liquid inside of them called endoplasm. There's also ectoplasm, which is the thin liquid, which doesn't seem like it's kind of pointless. But the endoplasm pushes the blob so that it makes like a little leg or a little like a little blob, extra blob out of the blob so that it can move. And that's how it moves. But it's also really hard for it to move like that, so it doesn't move that much. But apparently when you're swimming and then you see, like, I think this is the one where if you see the green stuff on the rocks, that's this. Even though I thought that was algae, but that's not. That's just the stuff on the water that tries to attach to rocks because it doesn't like to move very much. It's just kind of like a big blob that just doesn't like to move. So that's Sarcoidonosae. That's that phylum from... Oh yeah, there's also, this one contains the E. coli that's in your gut, the good one. And remember how in Kingdom of Nera I think there was a bad one? But E. coli has two different names. Like, that's the genus, the E is the genus and the coli is the species, getting down into the divisions. But the E stands for something different in the bad one. I'm pretty sure that's the bacteria that's bad for you. Or I can't remember. One of them's good for you, one of them's bad. So some E. coli you want to go eat because it's good for you. Some of it's not. Weird. Then we have phylum Matasagavora, still from the subkingdom Protozoa. If you're following me, you don't have to follow it. It's just for fun. I'm trying not to get hung up in how annoying all the names are. This one looks like a circle with a little tail, and it moves with the tail, but also with the flagellum thing. It's called a flagellate because it moves with a flagellum tail. And then it can bring out its body, can expand and move, go in like this, and that also helps it move. Here's a picture. Visuals help. That's what it does. That's kind of what it looks like. Kind of cool. By the way, reading from biology, creationist Christian biology, homeschool 9th grade, Weil and Darnell. What is it called? Yeah. Anyway, look it up. It's good. They try their best to teach it. Oh yeah, this also has chlorophyll, which is a pigment that helps it with photosynthesis. So it moves, but it also has photosynthesis, which means it's autotroph, which means which category do we put it in? Again, it's one of those. Anyway. All right, so that also, there's some that are symbiotic, which means that it has a relationship with other organisms, and where one or both parties are, or more, are benefiting from the relationship. There's 3 different types of symbiotic relationships. So look at the relationships in your life. What kind of symbiotic relationship do you have with people? Is it mutualism, commensatialism, or parasiticism? Are you both benefiting from the relationship? That's mutualism. If only one is benefiting and the other one is neither harmed nor benefited, that's commensatialism. That's probably not how it's pronounced, but that's what it is. And I don't think that's even possible, like with human relationships, but this is where we are more than bacteria. We are more than animals, because if someone is benefiting from you and you're not necessarily benefiting from them, but you're not being harmed, then you seeing them benefited by your relationship with them will benefit you. So I don't think commensatialism ever exists with humans. But then there's parasitism. Check to see, is your relationship with the relationships in your life, are they parasitic? See, this applies to us. Is your symbiotic relationship with people parasitic? And are you the parasite? That's the question. Are you the parasite and you need to you can only focus on yourself, right? So if you're the parasite, focus on yourself to make yourself no longer the parasite. Where a parasitic relationship is where one person is benefiting and one organism is benefiting and one organism is being harmed by the other organism's benefit. So the one benefiting is literally a parasite. So maybe you're a parasite, you need to fix that. Or maybe you're being parasitic. Someone is a parasite to you. But then it's still up to you to get rid of the parasite. Find the cure to get rid of the parasite. And sometimes it's the relationships in your life. They literally use the word relationship. So one example of commensationalism, which is where one is benefiting and the other was neither harmed nor benefited, is the barnacles on a whale. These little things, these little bumps on a whale. That's actually Protista, something from the kingdom Protista that is feeding off of the whale, but the whale is neither harmed nor benefited. But I'm sure the whale feels good. I'm sure he feels good and benefits from feeling good about helping them. So it does benefit him. Anyway, moving on to ciliophora. These cilia is, these aren't bacteria, I don't know what you call them, little microorganisms with tails, with hair on them, hair around it, that helps it move. And this one's basically like a human. It has a mouth, and there's also these little things, what were they called? That hold the food and the water, so it's like your bladder basically. And it has a mouth, and it has something that can get rid of the food. Food vacuole, a contractile vacuole, which holds the water, and then there's a food vacuole, which holds the food. So they eat food like normal humans. So these are basically just humans, but little. They're like babies, but way littler. And they're not humans. They're not made in the image of God. Okay. But that's kind of interesting. Also, these eukaryotic cells are very interesting. I think they're going to get to it. This is the one thing I remember from biology, is that the eukaryotic cells, the nucleus, it has a nucleus that has all these little organisms inside the cell, so it's very complicated. It's like its own little universe. And the food vacuoles, when it gets the food, the vacuoles or whatever, travel around the cell so that all of it can get benefited nutrition. Kind of like our blood, how it takes the nutrition apparently when you eat, takes the nutrition and brings it all around your body, I'm pretty sure. Pretty sure that's what happens. Then there's phylum Sporozoa, which is all parasites, apparently. They're all parasites, and the way they reproduce is like it recreates itself within itself, and then it breaks itself, and then all those little pieces of itself multiply. So it can multiply really fast. That is where malaria comes from, apparently. They go in a mosquito, and they have all these hard things around their things, because in the mosquito it can't reproduce very well. It's not ideal conditions, so it has to, but once it goes in the human, then it is ideal conditions, and it reproduces and causes malaria. Isn't that amazing? It's actually not. It's kind of annoying. But then when you're infected with malaria, a mosquito comes and bites you, an uninfected mosquito bites you, and then that mosquito gets infected, but it can't reproduce in the mosquito, so I think that's why the mosquitoes don't die. And then the mosquitoes go around and bite a bunch of people, and those people get infected and they die. But if they get bitten before they die, so here's the thing about parasitic relationships. I don't understand why a parasite is really truly benefiting from it, because first of all, don't you feel bad? Don't you just have a heart and feel bad that you're hurting people? But also, eventually that thing is going to die, and then you're going to die, and you've gotten yourself to be dependent on that thing, and then it dies, and now you're going to die. So you're literally hurting yourself too. So in a parasitic relationship, really, they say one is benefiting and one is being harmed, but really both are being harmed. And that's why we're all sinners and we all need Jesus. That's the conclusion of Kingdom Protista. That was just the subkingdom Protozoa. Next time, we'll get into the subkingdom Algae, which should be interesting because algae seems kind of boring, like it just floats. But I'm guessing it's not. I'm guessing there's something to it, because anytime you have a microscope, something that looks boring, you look into it and you find out that it's actually very interesting. But anyways, so yeah, I would say the point of all of this, how you apply this to your life, is look at the relationships in your life, whether it's your relationship with bacteria, your relationship with animals, or your relationship with other humans, and ask yourself, is this a symbiotic relationship that is mutualism, where we're both benefiting? Is this commensationalism, which probably doesn't exist, where only one benefits but the other one is neither harmed nor benefited? I don't think that's possible. There's no way that you're neither harmed nor benefited, because if you're not harmed, you are benefiting by seeing something else getting benefited. Or is it parasitic? And are you the parasite? Are you the one harming people and only benefiting, which ultimately still harms you in the end? Or do you have a bunch of parasites around you that you need to get rid of? And this applies to humans, this applies to animals. What if you own, some people who own these animals, and it's there's no point to them. They're literally just causing a burden to you. But maybe you benefit from taking care of something. So there you go. That's a compensationalism that's actually mutual. Because at the end of the day, your relationships are either mutual or they're parasitic. So make sure they're mutual. That would be my application for this. Thank you. Have a good day.